All right, welcome to episode 7 of the Nutritionist Podcast. This is Diego from NutriAdmin, and I am recording from London today. And in today's episode, I intend to give you an overview of online marketing as a nutritionist. So, this is about how to get more clients for your practice and how to grow your business in a sustainable way. Right, before we start, just a brief message from our sponsor, NutriAdmin. So, NutriAdmin.com is the all-in-one software for nutritionists where you can manage your practice, create meal plans, and keep all your data organized. It is rated close to 5 stars by our users, and you can get a free trial on NutriAdmin.com. Moreover, if you use the code podcast50, you will get half price for the first 2 months. So if you are interested, please check us out at NutriAdmin.com. Right, marketing for nutritionists. So I just thought I would make a episode just on my own today and to give you a broad overview of online marketing as a nutritionist and just share all my knowledge. So I've been running a business for the last 7 years, and my background is in physics, science, and technology. So I did have to learn marketing more or less on my own through a lot of trial and error. And I've read a lot of books on the topic, and I've applied many techniques. Some have worked, some have not, and I just thought that I could bring you a overview today on a little bit on everything I've learned so far, and some of it will be applicable to your business as a nutritionist or dietitian. And then this can serve as a introduction to future episodes where we're gonna bring in guests that are experts on specific techniques. So we're excited. We have a couple of guests lined up that work coaching nutritionists to help them grow their brands and that work just as marketers. So they have more experience than me, or they have more experience on specific topics that they'll cover. So that'll be coming next. And this way, at least you have an overview today that I'm going to bring you, and you can hopefully fill in this gap in your knowledge if this is something that you want to do. So, right. So why is marketing needed for nutritionists? Well, mm, what happens with most professions is that nowadays they tend to specialize. So if you studied nutrition, or you've been practicing as a clinical nutritionist, or you have a background in human nutrition from university, well, what will happen is that you'll be taught mainly by nutrition specialists and by academics and by people whose job is to research nutrition and become experts at it. So these are not necessarily people that are starting businesses. And as such, when you finish your degree, you may have all the knowledge that you require about how to heal somebody, how to help as a clinician, how to just understand why somebody may have a certain medical condition or a certain nutrition disorder, and you're able to help with that, which is amazing, because if anything, we need better nutrition in this world. We have this planet full of the richest people that have ever lived in most developed nations, and we are eating ourselves to death. And we could argue about that. There are different underlying causes for it, but we do need more nutritionists and dietitians to help people with their eating problems and with the most common, I guess, will be people that need to lose weight, but obviously that's quite simplistic. There are also people that have underlying hormonal problems and that have genetic conditions. There's the whole field of epigenetics, which is very exciting. But as you can delve. The point is that you can delve so deep into any specific nutrition specialization, and that will make you an amazing nutritionist or dietitian, but that will not necessarily get you clients, because what we have to acknowledge is that the biggest problem for anybody starting a small business or a practice on their own today is that when you open the doors on day one, pretty much nobody knows you out there. So this is what happened to us as well, is you may have all this incredible knowledge that allows you to provide a lot of value to people, but this is it's not really gonna be capitalized to its full potential unless the relevant people can find you out there. So yeah, like if it happens in any profession. Like I have a friend who is a musician and he's amazing at playing music, but then you need to have certain business skills to grow your audience. or you may be a nutritionist. You need to also grow your audience. Or in our case with NutriAdmin, when we started, me and my business partner are software developers, and we wrote what we thought was amazing software. But then initially we were not getting too many customers until we figured out different ways to market and grow our audience. So that's why this is so important, because it is just a tragedy if there are people out there that are suffering and need your help to improve their health, and you have the knowledge and you can provide this service that is beneficial, and you can make a living out of a very exciting profession helping people. And it's a tragedy if you do have this ability and then people out there that need your advice cannot find you because they don't know you exist, right? So that's why I always say that for any small business, obscurity is the biggest problem. So people not knowing you. So that's what we're gonna try to help you fix. And just as an aside, so running NutriAdmin since 2016, I've had the privilege of interacting with tens of thousands of nutritionists, maybe over the years, like I lost count. And so, I mean, some of them talking, some of them via emails, but the number is huge. And one theme that I hear over and over is this, that people need more clients. They need to find ways of reaching their audience more efficient. I mean, not everybody, like other people have other concerns, but this is a quite common one. So hopefully this is useful. And as we keep on producing more episodes in the podcast, we can delve into the topic further. So that's why marketing is important. Now, the first thing you should do, I think, and this, I mean, you may disagree with it, but I think most marketers will start with this, which is defining your audience. So you have to think, who is my ideal customer? And I would advise you should be as specific as you can. So for example, in our case, providing the software NutriAdmin, our ideal customers are people that work in wellness, nutritionists, dietitians, and with everything that we do, we try to cater to this audience and to be as specific, because the thing is, the world is so big out there that if you are very generic and you have a product or a service that is not very differentiated from other alternatives, then you're running the risk that somebody out there will be more specific than you and cater to your customers in a more effective way. So unless you are a massive company, where a multinational massive company, they have economies of scale and they can afford to be very generic and to just cater to everyone because they can produce products and services in a very cost-effective way. But most people in nutrition will run a one-person or a small team business or practice, and you will have to be specific, at least initially, to get started. And then if you manage to max out your niche for your specialty, then you can expand further if needed to other groups. So, okay, so what do I mean by defining audience? So in your case, for instance, it will typically, I mean, you probably already know what your specialty is. So for instance, maybe you are somebody that has specific knowledge and inclination to help people with diabetes, let's say. So then your target audience would be people with diabetes, and you can filter this down further, and you can perhaps cater specifically to people in your state, if you're in America, or to people in your country, or people in a specific age group, or maybe only males or females, or maybe people that work in a certain sector. So I have seen nutritionists that work with corporate clients, and sometimes they'll find a single client, like a big corporation that has thousands of employees, and that'll be their main client. But then within the corporation, they can help just dozens of employees every month. So that could be a way in which, if you specialize, for example, in that type of client, then that can be a source of clients for a long time. So, and your specialization could vary. Like it could be middle-aged women that are trying to get into sports in a specific location, or people with a specific eating disorder, or children with allergies, or mothers that just had a baby, or sports and performance is a big one as well, athletes, people with obesity. So there's a variety of specializations, let's say, or targeting for your audience that you can do. And you should choose this based on what you like and what you're good at and what your training and experience allows you to do. So if you're listening to this, unless you are completely new and just starting, you probably already have your specialty. But so those factors I mentioned are important, that you like it and you have the experience. But then a thing that people that are not often in business will not necessarily consider is the market size and the market, like how approachable the market is. So what that means is that, for example, if you make your audience so specific that there's basically no people out there with that specific set of criteria, like if I only want to target, I don't know, sumo wrestlers that speak a dialect of an African language live in Antarctica. Like, I mean, that's ridiculous, but sometimes people go for such a specific target that there is essentially very few people. So the target you go for should be, in my opinion, small enough that you can be the best or amongst the best in that specialty, but also not so small that there is not enough people within that market, and also not so big that it becomes so generic that then a bigger company will have an advantage. And you should consider the market size, but then not only the market size, you should also consider how reachable the market is. So for instance, if your market is, let's say, if you want to help children that have eating disorders, well, it's usually kind of tricky, like, you cannot directly message children, for example. That's probably illegal and unethical in most places. Like, you have to speak to their parents. So really, despite the fact you are targeting children because you're maybe a pediatrician or you specialize in nutrition for infants or little kids, then you have to design your campaign in such a way that you are appealing to their parents, perhaps. So maybe you can design marketing where you are targeting mothers or fathers and saying, these are some common, I don't know, problems that kids nowadays may have with their nutrition, and here's how I can help. So, having this thought, just imagining who is your customer and how they would find you and what kind of content and what kind of knowledge you have that they could find useful. So I just would like, if you have never done this exercise, just think about this. Think who is your ideal customer and try to, from now on, everything you make, your website, your emails, your social media, any content you make, you should have your target customer in mind and make sure that it is for them. So the language you use, the examples you use, like let's say if your target audience are people within corporations, then you should, within a certain socioeconomic status and education level, then you should make sure that your message resonates with them. You shouldn't say something that alienates them, for example. So just bearing that in mind would be useful. And right, so now we discussed why marketing is important and how you can define your audience. So basically, once you've done that, then it all becomes just testing out different marketing strategies, as I call them, and recording your results and seeing what works best for you. So at least this is what I've done with NutriAdmin and what has worked, what we have done in here. So what I mean by that is that there are a million things you can do for marketing. So you can do SEO, so that is optimizing your content so that you're found in Google. You can do all sorts of things in social media, creating content, creating communities, interacting with people. You can blog, you can create podcasts, you can also create advertisements. You can use remarketing, you can use email marketing, partnerships, referrals from doctors. You can send cold emails, cold calls. So you can sell leaflets. You can put a billboard in the street. Like that. There's so many things you can do that is overwhelming, right? And the thing is that, and there's far more than the ones I mentioned. And the thing is that not all of them are created equal. And some of the strategies are going to be more useful for certain people or for certain types of businesses or for certain markets. And some of them will be clearly better for you than others. So my strategy, what I would recommend is, number one, whenever you read marketing, usually this is written by a marketer. And the marketer usually will have a certain bias or an interest on promoting a specific type of marketing. So let's say I've read books on LinkedIn marketing or marketing on Twitter or using advertising for market. And these are usually written by people that work within that industry. So they're going to tell you all the wonderful ways in which that specific marketing technique has worked for them and their clients. And that's fair because they're showing you something that has worked in certain situations. But then it's almost like within research, like if you see a research paper promoting the benefits of mushrooms, but it has been sponsored by the Mushroom Growing Association, that's biased, right? So in a way, if you get a little bit of information from different sources, you can sort of create a meta review in your mind where you are now considering different marketing strategies and testing them out, more important, and you're getting comparisons between them. Because as I just said, there's advertising, social media, email marketing, and truth, like in my case, running this business for 7 years, I have tried all of these strategies and more. And what I found is that some, like a couple of them, a handful of them, the 80-20 rule, like just a tiny minority of them give us all of the results, and the vast majority do nothing for us. And you could argue maybe it's because we're doing it wrong, or because we haven't given it enough time or something for the strategies that haven't worked. But that's part of the equation. We all have limited time and resources, and nobody running a business is already complicated enough. And if you have to learn 50 different marketing techniques, then you're not gonna be able to fit all of that in any reasonable amount of time. So that's why today I'm just gonna give you an overview of a bunch of different marketing strategies that are common for businesses, especially online. And then we know that some of these have given good results to nutritionists that work with us. And my suggestion would be, are you able to design a small experiment so that, let's say, you spend a week with each on your free time or as part of your work, and you just make an Excel spreadsheet and you collect how much time it took you, how much money you invested, and what kind of results you got. And then you have a comparison with all of them. So basically, the overview. So let me just get into the overview. I have some notes in here. So first of all, I think that any business online should have a website, and there are ways to make it. You can make a website relatively quickly and cheaply, and you can also invest more time in it if you want, of course. But if you, there's a variety of resources out there. You can use Wix or WordPress or Squarespace or many others. You can Google how to create a website. And sometimes nutritionists reach out and they ask for tips on how to make a website. And there are people out there you can hire that will create it for you. But for most websites that display static content, in my opinion, as a software developer, you can spend just a small amount of time and money and get one of the pre-made solutions, and that will possibly be enough, at least to get you started. And the websites, again, should be targeted at your audience. So if you help people with diabetes, for example, then all your content should be about this. You shouldn't put, for example, irrelevant content. So for example, if you talk in the website about, let's say, some training that you did to help people with a completely different condition that is not really what you're doing professionally, then that would be just, in my opinion, it would be wasteful, because the people that you are targeting, they want to read certain specific information that you provide. And I just believe that you should always bear that in mind with all your contents, starting with your website. So, okay, so once you have a website, the thing that goes next is SEO. So I just want to briefly touch on it. So SEO stands for search engine optimization, and it essentially means that your website will be ranked in Google according to relevance and quality and other signals. And the way it works is Google has a lot of data, so they know the content of your website when you publish it, and they know, for instance, when somebody searches online, if somebody is searching diabetes specialist in London, then if they find your website and they click and they spend a lot of time and perhaps they make a purchase or they schedule a call with you, so Google gets all this data, and then Google knows that this particular keyword, specialist in obesity in London, and this particular website, which is your website, they know that this website drove engagement and actions. So without you doing necessarily anything special, if you put your website out there and you are consistent with your audience and the content you publish, and then over time, people visit the website and spend time on it and perhaps click on other pages and just use it, Google knows that that's a good website for that particular keyword. And conversely, if you create a website such that people click and they immediately leave, then that's a bad signal for Google. So Google will not show that website very high in the results. So that's essentially what SEO is. And in order to, there's other technical factors to increase your, it can get very deep, SEO. So for instance, you should make sure that your keywords are mentioned in the page. You should make sure that the website loads fast. So if a website takes 30 seconds to load because you added a massive image, for example, then what's going to happen is that most people will leave the website before they even load it, because people nowadays, for better or worse, have little patience, and they want mostly instant gratification, and they want things to load fast within seconds. So if you take care of these technical aspects, and to a certain extent, and there are tools out there to help you with that, and we can delve into other episodes, but essentially, if you create a website where, and this also goes for blog posts, by the way, if they are engaging and people interact with it, then you will be displayed in Google. And this is amazing because out of all the people out there that could be interested in your services, when people find you on Google, these are very motivated buyers. These are people that want your solution or your information right now. So if somebody searches, for example, how to lose weight in a ketogenic meal plan, and they find a blog post that you wrote that is very good quality and that explains specifically this question step by step, then those people could easily become your customers, right? Because they're literally searching how to lose weight with a ketogenic diet. And if you provide ketogenic diets and help coach people losing weight, well, it's essentially very relevant, which is what Google wants. And when I say Google, this also applies to YouTube, and it applies to Bing and to other search engines. So it's all about keeping your content relevant and creating good quality, and also a lot of quantity. So if you want to rank in Google, you should publish a lot of blog posts. You should have several pages. You should get links as well. So if you get your page published in many places, for instance, if you get a university or a authoritative website, like a big company pointing a link to you, that is almost like a citation in a research paper. So that means that, imagine, like early on when we launched NutriAdmin, we got so I had, for instance, the fortune and the privilege to study at Cambridge University, and I wrote a article where I just mentioned NutriAdmin, and it got published in the Cambridge website. And having such a prestigious university with a link to our website on NutriAdmin, that drove a lot of traffic, because essentially what Google sees is that it's almost like validation. It sees that there is a reputable institution or website out there that is kind of telling the world we are okay including this link in this article. Whilst imagine if you had a website that is spammy, then no reputable institution would ever link to it. They would try to avoid that kind of content. So that's all I'm saying about SEO for today, because I can go quite deep on this. But if this is something, and again, like I'm listing through all these strategies and just kind of giving you an overview, and I think that a good idea or starting point for you could be to just try a little bit of each one of them, see which ones you like, which ones you can do consistently, which ones are worth the effort, and which ones, more importantly, give you results at a reasonable cost. So cost to your money and to your time as well, because, for instance, we have found in NutriAdmin that creating content and writing articles and ranking SEO has been very effective, but this is a very long-term strategy, and it will not give you instant results. So that's something to bear in mind. Another popular strategy for marketing is social media marketing. And what we have found is that there are many popular social media channels out there. So there is Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, and others. And each one of them is unique. That's the first thing to notice. So there are some similarities, but you cannot treat them all the same. That's the first thing I'll say. And there are different kind of content that resonates in different networks. So, I mean, one thing they all have in common is that if you want to grow in those channels, then you should uh, you should create a lot of content, and the content has to be good. So, for instance, if you are on Instagram or YouTube, or I mean, a simple example, right? But imagine you have a YouTube channel. If there are no videos in there, then nobody will find it, right? Should be obvious. So if you check any YouTube channel that has grown and become famous and driven traffic and sales over time, they all publish content regularly. And it's quite exceptional to have somebody that, I mean, I guess the exception would be somebody that publishes infrequently, but when they publish a video, it's extremely good quality. So that can happen sometimes. But essentially, for all of them, you have to be comfortable creating content on a regular basis. So the content has to be also optimized for the platform. So for instance, if it is Instagram, it's a picture, right? Or a short video. If it is TikTok, it has to be a short video. If it is Twitter, it has to be short text and possibly links or other media. If it is LinkedIn, you can create articles, and you can also, with LinkedIn, you can message people directly as well. So if your target are professionals, then LinkedIn could be useful. And I mean, to give you some examples, so with Instagram has, I think, like 1.4 billion users, so it's huge. And Instagram has the possibility for your content to become viral. So what that means is that there are discovery mechanisms within the platform. So for example, if you create a reel, an Instagram reel, then Instagram will keep track of how long people spend watching your video, and it'll determine that if people are watching your video and rewatching it again and playing it multiple times, then Instagram will think that your video is very good, and it will show it to other people that are a similar audience. So there are people out there that, like, I have posted a couple of videos of recipes, for example, with an empty Instagram account, and I thought all of them were quite similar, but one of them got about 10 views, the other one got 400, and the other one got 10,000. And it is just a very disproportionate non-linear result. And out of the one that got 10,000 drove us a couple of subscribers. And then if you keep doing this consistently, then eventually each video that you publish, it has a base audience of your existing subscribers, which is going to start at 0, but it will hopefully grow over time. And then there's always this possibility of content being viral. So my advice would be for Instagram, if this is what you like, is check the accounts of some people that are professionals within your industry. So there are many fitness professionals and nutritionists that have a large following on Instagram, and you can check the kind of content they post. And it's usually pretty pictures of food recipes or workouts, and those kind of things tend to drive a large following. And then the idea with Instagram is that if you get a large following and people are seeing your name constantly, then sooner or later, whenever they need the services you provide, then hopefully they'll think about you first, because you're essentially, people are already using Instagram on a regular basis, and they're scrolling through it. And if they keep seeing your name and your content over and over, it's essentially a free ad. And it's free in quotes because you did have to spend the time to build the audience. But essentially, yeah, the strategy there would be to just produce content, and don't worry if initially, like, it's not great. It will probably improve over time as you keep getting, people will give you feedback, you will see what kind of pictures gets most likes and most followers, and just try to make it relevant to the product or service you sell. Because it's also possible to get what is called vanity metrics. So it is possible to grow a large audience of people on Instagram, but they're not really, none of them buys, right? So if you are, again, helping people with diabetes and all the pictures you're posting are driving a different segment of the market, then it may not be very useful for your business, really. Although again, you could, if you have a large audience of a particular type, you can also promote products and get into deals with brands to monetize that. So that's another option. But if you want to drive clients to your nutrition practice, then it's all about making sure that the clients that are your target are seeing your content and is growing over time. Right. Twitter. So Twitter is in a way similar to Instagram in the sense that content can go viral and the people that can follow you can be strangers. And there are people out there that have created accounts where you keep tweeting and tweeting and tweeting, and most of the tweets are getting little traction, and then you hit upon one thing that millions of people see. So it's kind of this strategy where you have to create content consistently, and you have to follow the your target audience perhaps, and I have to experiment and play around with it. But I will not say much about Twitter because I haven't really figured it out. Perhaps at some point we'll bring an expert on it, but just bear in mind that both Twitter and Instagram are different to Facebook, which is what's coming next. So Facebook is still huge. Some of the younger people are not using it anymore as much as it used to, but there's still about 2 billion people in there. And the thing with Facebook is that people normally will add their friends and family and people that they know in real life. So I don't think it is easy to just add strangers on Facebook and try to sign in those services. That wouldn't work. But one thing you can do on Facebook that is useful is you can create a page and you can create a group. So with a page, you can essentially create a page for your company, and you can list your services and you can post the same content that you're posting on Instagram perhaps in there. So that allows some people to find it, to find the content and follow you. And then you can also promote the page through other social media channels and through other content in your website. So you can, for instance, share recipes and blog posts and things that, because I mean, essentially with marketing, there are two components. One is creating the content, another is distributing it. So there are creation tools and distribution channels. So for example, a blogging platform would be a creation tool where you're creating a blog, you're creating an article, and Facebook can be a distribution channel. So there are people out there that want to consume that content, and you are publishing it there. There are some other platforms like YouTube that are both a creation and distribution channel on one, because you can create videos and upload them there. But there is also an audience of people there, and YouTube has an algorithm that will recommend your videos to relevant people and to audiences that are similar to your audience. So that's something to bear in mind. But yeah, but I would say with Facebook, it's probably just create a page and a group. And a group could be, for example, if you're helping people that have a specific medical condition, then you could create a group for those people and they can meet some peers there and share what works for them. And I mean, I would find that very useful, honestly, if I had, like, I've basically joined. So I am a software developer and I have a nutrition business, and I have found it very useful to join communities of other business owners that have a technical background as well and that talk about these topics, because I can basically network with fellow entrepreneurs, and we all have very similar problems and similar goals. So we can share resources that are very useful. And that's the kind of information that you wouldn't really get in a book or in another educational content, because when it comes about discussing what works for a business now, this is such recent information and it's so kind of like experiential in a way, like only certain people have experienced it, that it will take time for books to catch up to it. So I mean, yeah, obviously, I mean, I guess I don't have to explain why networking and why communities are important. They're obviously useful for a lot of people. So if you're able to start one of them in Facebook and invite people via email and within your friend list, and you can search other ways to grow it, that could be another place where people are seeing your services. And again, like I'm not even like, this is number 3 in the list, and I have a list of like 12 different marketing strategies here, and there are hundreds. And I wouldn't expect any single individual to be able to do all of this. But what you can do is try a bunch of them for a little bit and see. And it's gonna be quite clear. I think that most of them will unfortunately give you 0 results. That's the sad truth. but then some of them will give you a lot of results. And when we started NutriAdmin in the first few years, initially it was all about SEO. Then we got user reviews, which have been very helpful as well. Then we got customers through YouTube, and we are expanding our social media now and email marketing. But there are some other strategies that we have tried that have never given us any results. And again, I may be doing them wrong, or there may be, or maybe it's just that my target audience is not really reachable within those channels. So that's something to bear in mind. Right. So LinkedIn. So with LinkedIn, just briefly, I mean, for most nutritionists, LinkedIn can be useful to reach people that are on LinkedIn, obviously. So you have to think who is on LinkedIn. And in general, LinkedIn tends to be quite attractive to professionals and people that work in corporations, people that work in offices. And so if that's your target audience, that's a great place to be. And if there are many ways you can go about growing your business on LinkedIn. So one of them is, again, you can create a page and a group, the same as with Facebook. I find that a group on LinkedIn has less engagement and interaction than in Facebook. And I think this is because people logging and interacting in Facebook far more than in LinkedIn. Most people check LinkedIn from time to time, and not so many people check it regularly. So that's something to take into account. But one advantage that LinkedIn has that none of these other social networks have is that you can perform very specialized professional searches. So if you are selling, for example, again, like if you want to find a corporate client that wants to provide nutrition to their employees, for example, then what you can do is to find the CEOs or the people in charge of HR, or people in charge of a particular department in those companies, and you can find the actual individual, and you can write them a message, and you can say, hello, John, I see that you're running all of these initiatives for this company, ABC and Limited, and I see that one of your initiatives is to improve the health and well-being of your employees. So would you be open to provide a nutrition or meal planning service to your employees? And I can help with that. And you can contact a bunch of relevant people with this kind of message, and some of them may say yes. And if this is what you want to do, then I mean, it's all about with marketing. It's all about you have a valuable product and service, which you have to define, and you have to make sure that it's valuable. And so, but that's probably for most nutritionists, probably their technical skills, in a way, their capacity to create meal plans and to provide advice and to provide consultations and follow up with clients. Probably that's what you're good at. And probably the being found out or reaching out to the specific people that need that message, like finding them amongst the millions and millions of people on the internet, that's the difficult bit, I would imagine, for most nutritionists. And that's because, again, your training will likely be more about nutrition, and most nutritionists, I would imagine, coming out of school or university will have zero marketing training. So yeah, if you're able to think of who is your customer, and if your customer is on LinkedIn, like, again, these HR people or CEOs or founders of companies, that could be a potential. Then, or you can also filter by income and by location and by age to a certain extent, and industry. So if you're able to filter like that, then you can reach out to people and message them. And something like, if you send a cold email to somebody, so this is a stranger that doesn't know you, and you send them an email presenting your services, I mean, the chances of them replying are abysmal. Like, professional marketers that do this for a living and have optimized their messages very well to get the most replies, they usually get very little, like less than 1% in many cases. And that's because people receive way too much spam on their email. But when you message somebody on LinkedIn, number one, they can check your profile and see that you are a real person and that you have the relevant qualifications. And number two, people receive far fewer messages on LinkedIn than they get via email. So there is a much higher chance. I mean, in my experience, I have messaged loads of strangers on LinkedIn for different purposes. And I always do this when I think I have something of value or something of interest that I could discuss. And I find that a surprising amount of people are very receptive and they're happy to chat. And because, they can always say no if they don't want. I'm not going to be pushy. I always reach out to people and I make a proposition. I say, this is what I do. Would you be interested in this collaboration? And if they say no, then not a problem. I have other people to check. I don't want to inconvenience anyone. But at the very least, if you're messaging and connecting with people on LinkedIn and growing your audience, then whenever you publish articles and blogs, and because again, remember, LinkedIn is also a distribution channel. So any content you publish, if you, for example, write blog posts or make videos, you should share them in all your social media channels. And if over time you're growing an audience on these different platforms, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, then the more you publish, the more, the key insight here is that imagine it takes you an hour to record a video. Well, if your audience is 100 people, then at best 100 people will see it, and it took you an hour to make the video. And now if over time you have grown your audience and now it is 100,000 instead of 100 only, then for the same hour of your work, you are getting 1,000 times the viewership, which means whatever number of them may sign up for your services, that number is going to be multiplied by a massive multiple. So yeah, over time, any of the social media, in my opinion, when you start, you're going to get little results because the audience is small. But over time, as you provide value and you're consistent and you interact with the people and you're considerate, and you just have to remember there are people behind any account. Well, actually, that's not true. Like in Twitter, I think that more than half of the accounts are bots. So that, I may not be right on this, but most accounts in social media that you're gonna reach and you're gonna interact with, it'll be easy to tell whether they're a bot or a human. Hopefully, you interact mostly with humans, and yeah, that's just a small diversion. Right, let's keep on because there's so much marketing. So okay, YouTube is about sharing videos, obviously, and a lot of people, there are millions and millions of people on YouTube. So if you create content consistently, I think this one is the easiest to understand. So it's just, if you create content consistently on YouTube on your particular specialty and people watch it and they like it, and YouTube will give you some metrics to check which videos are performing best. So if you make a bunch of videos, you can check which ones tend to drive more viewership. And as long as you're keeping your target audience in mind and you're consistently publishing these videos, sharing them in your social media, you can over time grow an audience, and hopefully some of those people will sign up for your services. And then it's a similar story with a podcast. So that's what in a way, that's what I'm trying to do with NutriAdmin. So our mission as a company is we want to help nutritionists and dietitians in everything we can. So mainly we do this with the software NutriAdmin, but we are also trying to grow some communities, and we are trying to provide educational resources that nutritionists have told us they would find useful. So you can, if you're listening to this and you are finding it useful, it would mean the world to me if you could just share, and you could write a comment and just leave me some feedback. This is just kind of the first attempt. So, it's hopefully going to improve a lot over time, but essentially, I'm going to make a series of these videos, and I'm going to very systematically, you can tell that I have a science background. I'm going to just check the numbers and see, probably if I make 10 videos, one of them will be clearly much better than the rest. So then I know I can focus more on just check and see which things went right in these videos, which things went wrong in other video, and try to adjust. So you have to be a bit patient, I think, with any of these strategies, and you have to be also mindful of the vast amount of competitors you may have for any particular topic. So I am making a video on marketing, and there are many other people making marketing content out there, but my unique selling point is that I am trying to cater this for people that are starting a nutrition business. So if you combine marketing overview with people that are starting a nutrition business, then suddenly there must be essentially far fewer videos on this topic than if I try to make a video for marketing in general. right, for everyone, for every type of business. That would be far more challenging. So yeah, that's something to take into account. And again, the goal is my goal, at least with content that I'm creating, is just to provide value. And then I think that over time, the people that find the content valuable will follow it and share it. It's just organic. You don't have to insist. The people that don't find it interested, they will just not consume it. They will do something else. And and over time, if you are creating this content, what we see is that some of the people, sooner or later, if they have a need for then other product that we provide, like the software, then I mean, at least they will think of us first. Well, again, the biggest problem all small businesses have is obscurity. So if you have the perfect solution for a problem, but nobody knows you exist, or your target customer doesn't know you provide this service, then they cannot buy from you. That's the truth. So yeah, you have to be known, and you may be thinking, for example, if you're a more introverted person and you're not comfortable creating videos, then that's fine. You can create blog posts and articles, or you can find whatever works for you. Like, there are many ways in which businesses thrive. And another thing that works well for us, for example, in the business, is user reviews. So we encourage people to leave reviews for the software, and the reviews are verified by a third party. So this prevents any fake accounts. In order to submit a review, you have to show a screenshot that you have access to the software and that you're a user, and other security measures. And this way, people that are interested in the software, they will see the reviews and they will be able to judge whether they are interested or not. And you could do the same for your services. So if you help people lose weight, for example, and you have a bunch of before and after pictures, I mean, that's kind of the most obvious marketing material sort of you can have. But you should have all your reviews in your website and in your social media, in your LinkedIn page, and all your testimonials and the names and logos of big brands that you have worked with, if it is applicable. A lot of these things build your reputation. So that's another thing to consider with any sort of social media you do. And finally, TikTok. So TikTok is similar to Instagram Reels. I mean, Instagram Reels are kind of a clone of TikTok, but the concept here is that if you create content on TikTok, it can go viral, and the algorithm, again, will track which videos are engaging. And if, for example, you start creating if you start recording your recipes and you get better at it over time, and they are very engaging videos, then you can record this relatively quickly and publish it consistently. And there can be hundreds of thousands and even millions of people that can see it if you are producing this on a regular basis. So that's a way in which you can grow in those different channels. And hopefully, yeah, we'll bring different experts on different topics in here, because today is just a short overview. Right, let's move on to advertising. So advertising means you're spending money to reach an audience. So if you are just starting a business, then probably you're not going to be very interested, because advertising can be very expensive. But just to give you an overview, so on Google, you can advertise on particular keywords. So if people search for a keyword like, somebody that has diabetes and is a dietitian, you put that as a keyword, then they can click on your ad, and you can make it in such a way that you only pay for the clicks. So if you make it specific, and if you create a situation, imagine, where you pay $1 per click, and out of every 50 clicks on average, you get a customer. So it costed you 50 clicks or $50 to get a customer. And then this customer on average will spend well, some of them will not become customers in the end. Some of them will follow up over years, and you will charge them maybe $2,000 over time, and some others will only buy once. But if you calculate that on average, a customer spends, let's say, $300, and it costed you $50 on average to get a customer with this ad, then you could argue that this campaign is profitable and it is driving you. So that's the main thing with Google. You have to advertise cheaply enough so that whenever you get a sale, that sale is profitable enough to cover the cost of the advertising plus your margin. So That's the thing with Google. And the thing with Google is that you can target people that are searching a very, very specific keyword. And these are typically people that want the solution now. While something like Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter, other social media, in there you can also advertise, but it's a different approach. In there, you're targeting people by, for example, in Facebook, you can target people by demographics and by many other, by basically by who they are. So their profession, their age, their gender, their nationality, etc., their political beliefs. I mean, you can, for example, target people that are interested in sports and fitness if you are selling nutrition training for athletes, for example. But it's possibly going to be quite expensive, and this you have to take into account. These are people that are not necessarily wanting to buy anything right now. So it may be the case that you show the ad to thousands of people that you believe are your target audience, but nobody really buys because they don't need the service right now. So yeah, I mean, you probably just think about yourself. Whenever you're being on Facebook or Instagram and scrolling, you probably see a lot of ads that are relevant to you, because that's what this whole technology is designed to do. It's going to show you, based on your interest and on your actions, things that the algorithm believes are relevant to you. But just think how often you buy. And for most people, it's probably not that often. So as a consideration. Right. Moving on, we have remarketing. So remarketing is just you install a cookie in your website, and what it does is when you can configure it in such a way that when people see your website, if they don't buy, then they will see ads for your website in different places. So that's a consideration. So sometimes you go to a website, let's say you go to an airline website and you want to buy a trip for a holiday somewhere, and then you end up not buying, then probably you will be in other websites, you'll be on social media, or you will be reading an article from the news, and you will see ads for the trip that you were trying to buy. So that's what remarketing does. It just keeps track of your behavior in websites, and you can add it to your website if you want, but you have to pay for this. So that's just an overview. And moving on, we have email marketing. So email marketing is all about, you have to build an email list. So you can do this many ways, but essentially you can provide customers with blogs and with articles, and you can ask them for their permission for their email. So if they want to read more articles, etc., they can give you their email. And you can set this up in a variety of software platforms. And then once you have saved all of these emails, you will have a list that hopefully is growing over time. And then every time you can publish several types of content. You can publish a newsletter, you can publish your links to your videos if you publish on YouTube or on TikTok or Instagram or anything, and you can provide promotions, special offers, and there are many things. You just have to think that the people that you are contacting are humans, and they probably receive a lot of emails, and so you should treat them like people, and you should know your audience and just provide something that they find useful. Because what will happen with email is that if you send a lot of emails and they're not really very relevant, and they are not specifically targeting the people, then nobody will read them and people will unsubscribe. So I mean, probably the biggest problem when you start will be that you just don't have any emails at all. So the main thing will be start collecting emails, save them in a platform, so you can use Drip or MailChimp, or there's many others. You can check your favorites. There's many of them are free or very cheap for small volumes, and then you pay more as you accumulate more emails. And then email is another distribution channel. So if you're making all this content that I mentioned before, blog posts, videos, so ideally, I mean, this is what you could do. You produce content that your audience will like. So recipes, videos, workouts, videos, articles, delving deep into specific conditions, just explaining the medical condition that your audience is interested in, providing sample meal plans, etc. So that's your content. You can make it either as blog posts or videos or audio like a podcast, and just figure out what you're good at and what you like, publish it, and then you can share it in all the social media channels. You can share it via email, you can share it in your website, and then all of these channels synergize with each other. So for example, if you're growing your Instagram following, and then you urge people on Instagram to join your mailing list so they get updates. Then it also works the other way around. Whenever you send a newsletter, you can tell people, you can also follow me on Instagram if you want. And this way, the audiences that you have in these different buckets over time will all converge to the different channels. And then this way, and another advantage is that this is content that you own. So, I mean, well, technically, content in certain places, if you publish content to YouTube, for example, I think YouTube may own it. But what I mean by, so that's not what I mean in that sense, but what I mean is that this becomes your brand essentially. If you publish a lot of content about how to help people with diabetes, then you will be, over time, you will be known as a diabetes expert, and people that have diabetes will recommend it to other people that need help, and you're going to build this reputation. And this is something that takes a long time to build, but it is extremely valuable. And this will eventually just bring your customers without you having to do anything, because you will be known by people the same way that some of the most popular brands you can think of for all sorts of products, they attract a lot of clients just by showing their brand name. There are some big brands out there, like, I mean, for example, in food, McDonald's is, for better or worse, a very big brand when it comes to selling food, and their logo is so recognizable that they can just, I mean, honestly, I had this experience. It's a bit of an aside, but sometimes walking around, I see in some areas of London that people perhaps are not so clean, and they drop some rubbish on the floor, and sometimes you see like a bag of McDonald's fries that somebody ate, and they didn't throw it in the bin, which is kind of regrettable to say the least. But the thing is that just seeing that bag on the floor with the McDonald's logo, I bet that if somebody eats in McDonald's regularly, seeing just the bag with the logo, that may trigger the craving for more McDonald's. And in fact, I mean, just me talking about McDonald's now may make some listeners want to eat McDonald's. But that's how it works, because that's, for better or worse, that brand is so powerful that just pronouncing its name make people want to consume these products. And that's kind of, I guess, the holy grail in marketing, to associate your brand with a certain service or product in such a way that just mentioning the brand, people know, and they want and this, it takes a lot of time to build. And you may think, if you just want to have a small business, then you can still be an expert, but then you will have to be an expert on a smaller niche. So you could be the specialist on helping people, women after menopause, that want to improve their performance in specific competition, like long distance running, let's say. So that's a specific enough niche that if this is what you're good at and what you want to do, then there are chances that you can be the best at it, if not in the world, at least in your local area. And but then, if you want to be the best nutritionist overall, for example, then you're competing with hundreds of thousands of people. So only one out of those hundreds of thousands of people can be the best. And so that's what you can get over time as you build. So that's what I wanted to say about email marketing. Now, when it comes to partnerships, that's another technique. So you can partner with people that have the same audience as you, but sell a different product. So most typically, nutritionists will partner with doctors and GPs, and they'll get referrals. So that can be an amazing source of clients. So let's say a patient comes to a doctor, and the doctor is a general practitioner in the UK, or is just it's a doctor that will advise clients on their health. Well, sometimes they don't have the qualification to give them specific nutritional advice. So then they'll say, well, I'll recommend you to this specialist that can help you with your specific problem. And the reason this works is because the doctor wants to help these patients, but they don't have, so it's the same audience as yours in a way, or there is an overlap between the audiences, but they are not equipped to provide the service that the audience needs. So that's, if you think about it with this framework in mind, then you can think of who else is selling to the same audience as me, and how can I structure some sort of deal with them. So it could be your local shops that are selling supplements or that are selling nutritional products. So you could maybe speak to them and say, if you recommend me some clients from the shop that are looking for nutritional counseling or advice, then I can give them a special deal, or vice versa. Whenever some of your clients needs to buy some supplements, then you can recommend some of the shops that you have partnerships with. So yeah, with partnerships is all about finding people that have a similar audience to yours, but you're not in direct competition with. You have sort of complementary services. So think about supplement companies, nutritional companies, somebody that is selling protein powder for people that want to go to the gym and build muscle, or maybe a personal trainer if you're a nutritionist, or vice versa, or doctors, etc. Or Instagram influencers. And just, yeah, anybody you can think of, I recommend reach out to them and talk and see if you can find a suitable arrangement. And anybody that is in business is usually open, in my opinion, to getting more customers. Who doesn't want that? So at least a lot of people will be open to having a conversation. And sometimes it doesn't work out because you cannot find a specific arrangement that will be mutually beneficial. But this has worked for many nutritionists, especially with the doctors and supplements. Right. Okay. So just coming out to the end of the list of strategies, there is following up. So this is not a strategy, but it's more of a concept. So whenever you reach out to anybody and you're selling any sort of product, the number one thing that any salesperson that is successful will tell you is that you need to follow up. And what this means is we're all very busy people, and some people are very diligent, and you offer something once and they say yes, and they fill in all the forms and they do everything on their own. But that's a minority of the people. A lot of the people, let's say you message somebody and they say, oh yeah, I definitely buy your service. Then despite the fact they said yes and that they have every intention to do so, what's going to happen is that they don't really have the time, or it's never the right moment. So what you have to do is to follow up and send them another email, send them another call, and send them another request. And you may think, well, that's a bit uncomfortable maybe, or you have to do it in a diplomatic, you don't want to be abrasive. But the thing is that in my experience, I have found that sometimes people are interested in a product, and I have followed up to like 30 times. So that may seem like an insane number, but over a year, like I am changing the frequency depending on the feedback I get. So anytime somebody could be interested in the software that we are providing, or I will follow up. And my goal is I just never give up until they either say yes or no. So if they say no, then that's it. I'm not going to follow up further. So that would be, in my opinion, being pushy. So if somebody said no, then I don't bother them anymore. And they know I exist now, at least, because I reached out. So if they are interested in the future, they will consider it if they remember or if they want. But then if somebody simply doesn't reply, then I want to follow up, because more often than not, what happens is that the typical response I get is, oh, I'm sorry I didn't reply, I was busy, I'm actually interested. Or maybe they'll say, oh, I'm sorry I didn't reply, but this was not a right time because this and this happened. So can you maybe follow up 3 months from now? Or maybe they'll say, they'll just get a reply. And the thing is, in many cases, this is just showing commitment, and it's showing that you care, and it is showing that you want to help. And and obviously you don't want your emails to be, you don't want it to be too frequent. So if somebody, for example, wants to start sometimes you may follow up once a week, for example, whilst if you did it once a day, it would be excessive, right? So you can try different times of the day, different times of the week. But just because somebody hasn't replied, whenever I've read books in sales, the main thing they mention is that most salespeople, they leave about half of the money on the table because they don't follow up, because they are scared of rejection, basically, and they're scared of bothering people. And I guess, in my experience, maybe 1 out of every 100 or 200 people is annoyed that I followed up. but it's very unusual. Mostly the people that I contact respect it because they feel this is somebody competent and somebody that cares about business and that is reaching out, and it is showing and the messages I am trying different angles. Like I am trying, maybe okay, you're not interested in this, can I help you with this other thing? And if not, that's okay, I will not reach out any further. But you can use some tools as well to automate or make this process more efficient. But yeah, just want to drill down that if you get any interest from any client, especially like if somebody comes to you and is interested in your services, but then they don't purchase immediately, you should follow up essentially forever until they either say yes or no. If they haven't replied, there is no reason to stop. And you can give them an unsubscribe link if you're doing this via email, or you can, but yeah, most of the time, just think about yourself. Whenever you received an email, most of the time you don't reply either because you don't trust the person, or you don't think what they have to offer is valuable, or you don't have the time. So with these emails, you have to build the trust, you have to build your reputation. Hopefully this is building over your other efforts as you have been publishing all your content and providing value to people. But yeah, a lot of the time it's just people, they get many emails per day, so they are not ready right now to, I mean, especially if you're a nutritionist, many of your clients, let's say they want to lose weight and they know kind of what they should be doing. They know they should be eating healthier and exercising more, but they don't seem to have the time to do that, right? So that's if somebody is busy, then any sort of change, like signing up for a new program and stuff, is going to require effort, and it's gonna be met with certain amount of friction. So that's why following up, I mean, a significant part of being a nutritionist, I think, is being a coach, in essence, just providing not just the knowledge, but providing accountability and providing support, and just being there to encourage the person and giving them tips at the right moment so that they keep on with their program. So that's what I have to say about follow up. And next, just a final kind of like, if you wish, if you will, honorable mention. So you can have cold calls, cold emails, handing out leaflets, and other offline marketing thing like putting billboards. And those are probably not going to be too useful for most nutritionists, but it's something that different marketers will do for different businesses. So I just want to make you aware of them. And finally, so that's kind of like an overall list of what I have seen that I've had success with many of these strategies myself for my own business. And I have seen nutritionists that some of them are our customers, and some of them I see in social media, and they are successful with some of these techniques. And it's all about, in my opinion, trying them. Just record the results in an Excel spreadsheet. You can have a column with Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, etc., blog posts, SEO. Just put all of the techniques, and then a column with how much time it takes to learn, how much time it takes per day to produce content, how much time it takes over time, what is the long-term expected value from this, how many customers I'm getting. And if you keep track of this over time, and you don't have to be so specific if you don't want to, but you should have some sort of metric. And if you start today, maybe 6 months from now, you'll check your metrics and you'll be like, wow, I put like thousands of hours on all of this, and I got nothing on Twitter, and I got some people on Instagram, but my YouTube is exploding. And then or it could be a different channel, but what you will find is that naturally there'll be some natural talents and preferences you have that will probably make you better at certain channels and certain types of content. So you should exploit those. And then your audience will be more likely in certain channels than in others. So for example, there are nutritionists in Reddit. It's another social site, sort of social, that I didn't mention. But I've tried in the past contacting people in there, but I haven't gotten good results. So perhaps I'm not good at that particular site, or maybe I'm doing it wrong, or maybe there is not enough of them. But I did just try a few of them, and I'm focusing now on the ones that seem to work better for me. And that's what it's all about in marketing and business. I find you are testing out different strategies, and once you find something that works well, you want to double down on it. So there are businesses out there that just rely solely on, well, okay, I forgot to mention another critical marketing strategy, which is word of mouth. So if your services are good, people will recommend them, and that's kind of that's if you want a bonus that you're gonna get no matter what you do, you're gonna get that naturally if you're providing good services. So you want to make it easy for people to recommend and maybe incentivize them with referral bonuses or with some promotions. But if you're doing a good job, that's any business will get recommendations if their customers are satisfied. So you want your customers to be happy, of course. But yeah, that was a lot for one episode. I wanted to make this a bit shorter, but I guess there is a lot to talk about in here. And essentially, just to give you an overall summary of everything we discussed so far, because probably a lot is just marketing is important if you're starting a nutrition business, because you want to grow the audience and you want people to find you so that you can have more clients. And then it is important for you to educate yourselves on this, because you probably haven't received the training for business and marketing as part of your degree. You probably only got, I mean, it was the same for me. I studied physics and then I did some programming within my degree, but I had to learn programming mostly on my own. I was very interested in it, so that was helpful. And then I also had to learn the marketing and business skills on my own, because my degree was all specialized in science and physics. But yeah, fortunately, this information is out there. We are trying to gather it within this podcast so that more people have easy access to it. And all the content we're going to make, I mean, from talking to people all these years in business, I found that they want to get more marketing and business knowledge so that they can get those aspects of their business to be more effective. And some of them also want to be kept current on research, because if you are practicing as a dietitian and it's been 10 years since you graduated, perhaps you're not aware of the latest research. You don't have the time to read hundreds of papers. So we are also with our other host, Ismail. He's a nutritionist, and he's going to be bringing in nutritionists and researchers and academics so that we can talk about these aspects and just give you the latest research and perhaps dispel some myths. Like sometimes in nutrition you have some myths. But yeah, from my end, I am hoping this was helpful. First of all, like I would really appreciate if you gave us some feedback. And I am hoping to bring in, I have a couple of guests that are hopefully coming in soon, and that will be providing some more in-depth strategies and tips and case studies on how they've grown their business. Because, I mean, let's say if you are somebody young that just graduated and you find a person that is doing exactly what you want to do, which is a private practice or a business of some sort. So if you find somebody that's doing the same thing, but is just 5 or 10 years ahead in the journey, then that person is the most relevant, in my opinion, the most relevant source of knowledge for what you want to do. It's just somebody that's doing the same thing, but a bit further ahead. And you can learn from their mistakes and their experience, and hopefully that's going to be useful. And again, with I acknowledge, so I am running a software business, so some of the stuff I am talking about perhaps is not the most applicable. Maybe, for example, with SEO, it works really well for us, but it's quite technical, so you may not want to dig too deep into it. But some other people get into SEO, and you don't have to be necessarily a tech expert to get it to work to reasonable standards. So yeah, some of these techniques will be more applicable to other people than others, but some of them are kind of universal. So hopefully this is helpful. And as we bring in people with experience, so just to give you a little taste, we have somebody whose job is she's a nutritionist, and her job is to coach other nutritionists in marketing. So she has both these experiences, both the nutrition and the marketing. And I have a couple of these guests lined up, so hopefully they will be able to provide even more value than me, and give you the tools that you need to thrive. Because yeah, we want just better nutrition in the world. We want people to get in better health, and we want everybody to be happy. So yeah, so I think that that's enough for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. And let me know what you think about this. If you are on YouTube, you can write us a comment and share. That would be really appreciated. And if you're listening to this as a podcast, then we also appreciate if you share it with some of your colleagues. And you can follow us on, if you want to listen to more, you can follow us on all social media channels. So if you search for NutriAdmin on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, just all the major channels, you will find our channel and you can follow. And this way you can be notified every time we publish new episodes. And finally, if you prefer to read, you can check our blog at blog.nutriadmin.com, and we publish content just curated for nutritionists. That's our target audience. So, I mean, you see that I am kind of practicing what I preach. So, hopefully, if you're listening to this and you are not a nutritionist, then it would be completely irrelevant and probably you would have stopped listening a while ago. But I am hoping that for certain kind of people, the people that I am thinking about as my audience, they should be relevant. And then whether people listen to it or not, if I have chosen the relevant people, then the main matter becomes quality. Is this good enough quality amongst the other options out there to be useful? And quality will improve over time. So quality is relative. So on the one hand side, if you choose a very large market, then the quality has to be superb. Otherwise, there is just no hope because competition is going to be very fierce. But if you choose a smaller niche, then there are fewer competitors. So naturally, when people are hungry for a certain type of product or service or content and there are fewer choices, then you don't have to be extremely polished for it to be actually valuable because people just would rather have something somewhat useful than nothing. So that's a card you can play to your advantage. And then finally, quality will also get better with practice. Anything gets better with practice. I have been recording videos on YouTube for many years, and I think that I can do it better now than when I started, hopefully. And it's just practice, and there's plenty more that I have to learn. There are people out there that I am aware are far, far better than me. I don't think I'll ever be a TV presenter or because that's not my profession, but you don't need to be you don't need to be as good as is required in this particular area for your target audience and provide enough value. So without further ado, thank you for listening. We really appreciate if you shared, and if you find this useful and you want to listen more, and if you had any feedback, please let us know. And thank you, and hope you have a great day.